In this PowerPoint, we are going to be looking at the effects and possible outcomes of the increase of robots in society. By the end, hopefully you'll be able to make a decision whether you believe they will help or harm society. In order to do this, I will be discussing evolution of robots, jobs affected by the robots, how robots will contribute to income inequality, and the use of robots today in the United States. Let's start with looking at how the use of robots has changed over time. Initially, robots were considered to be dependent machines because they needed the help of someone to function properly. This meant that their purpose was to help a worker be more productive. For example, a grain leg, as shown below, was used to move masses of grain in order to help the workers move the product more efficiently. However, as technology improved, robots improved as well, to the point where they became semi-automatic, meaning that the robot took on the burden of doing most of the work, but still needed to be set in motion and assisted by a worker to function. The current stage of robots used today is automatic. These are the robots that are threatening jobs because they are capable of functioning on their own and can complete tasks more efficiently than a human. An example of an automatic robot used today would be the robots Amazon uses in their warehouse. These robots are programmed to function on their own, and their task is to bring the shelves of goods out to employees. This device has saved Amazon from the expense of employees to perform this task, as well as any medical expenses that would have been incurred from such strenuous labor by a human. But on the flip side, it has taken the jobs of many. In addition to inventory retrievers, there are many other jobs in danger of being replaced by robots, more broadly categorized by jobs that are entry-level, currently or previously outsourced, and low to middle income jobs. Entry-level and low to middle income jobs are in danger because they are often consist of occupations that do not require a high skill level and are more than likely dealing with semi-automatic machines that will eventually be replaced by automatic ones. Outsourced jobs, including telemarketers that exist in places such as India and the Caribbean, are already being replaced by automations. For companies, this is a good thing because they aren't having to do business with another country's citizens. However, this means that the robots will be affecting the global economy, especially in developing countries that depend on these jobs for their economy. Even though the majority of jobs replaced by robots will affect lower to middle income individuals, some examples of higher paid occupations can include radiologists and anesthesiologists. On the left is a machine used by Johnson & Johnson to sedate patients without an anesthesiologist present, and on the right is what a computer-aided diagnosis looks like. This software detects 10 times more possible tumors and cancer spots than radiologists. Even if robots aren't seen as a substitute for human labor, capital used to invest in robots will decrease the amount of jobs created by normal capital investment, meaning that companies will begin to invest in robots to increase profits rather than more machinery or buildings like they previously did. This takes away any jobs that would have been created in the investment of the construction of a new building. I know this sounds like all jobs are at risk, but don't worry, there are plenty of jobs that are considered safe. Safe jobs include anything that requires a human touch. Robots may be labor replacements, but they aren't human replacements. Robots can't possess certain characteristics that humans do, such as empathy or creativity, and for this reason, jobs such as caregivers or therapists will have job security during the rise of robots. During the initial phase of deeming jobs replaceable or non-replaceable, there will be a rise in income inequality. This is due to the fact that while those who are already making low to middle income will be put out of a job, highly skilled or creative workers who already make a higher income will have an army of robots that will make them more productive and therefore more profitable. Take, for example, a designer that has a warehouse full of robots that assembles clothing faster and cheaper than the average worker. This designer is able to pay for cheaper labor for the same output, which in turn increases profits and increases his income at the expense of the workers replaced by the robots, which causes a greater income gap. In order to understand the effect on wages, robots have to be seen as a substitute for human labor. This means that wages will be determined by the efficiency of a robot. No owner of a company would hire a laborer for a higher price than he could buy a robot for to produce the same output. And as technology increases, robots are becoming cheaper so that they could be implemented into companies rather than staying in a test lab. By the looks of it, robots are going to take over the economy and, according to Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk, be the end of the human race. However, this is all based on the assumption that humans are unable to adapt to the change in labor demand of the shifting economy. And although change always takes some getting used to, the resilience of humans is what keeps us completely irreplaceable by robots. In fact, the use of robots is what has kept the human race living longer than ever. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, human life expectancy has almost doubled, and this can be mostly attributable to the improvement of medicine and living conditions, thanks to robots and technology. And along with making outputs more productively, robots are commonly used in furthering science and saving lives. Thanks to robots, we have explored more of the Earth and outer space than ever before. With robots, we are capable of sending unmanned crafts into space, as well as the ocean, to capture footage and gather data that otherwise wouldn't be humanly possible. And in the field of medicine, robots have expanded surgeons' capabilities to allow for the option of remote surgeries, as well as less pain and less blood loss in surgeries. In the field of medicine, the Da Vinci surgical system allows a surgeon to be sitting in front of a 3D HD screen view of the patient while the movement of his hands are translated to the next machine, but in smaller, more precise movements in the patient's body. This robot is typically used to save the lives of many cancer patients. Robots have also contributed to saving lives in various dangerous situations. Some of the most high-tech robots today are used for military operations that consist of detecting and detonating explosives, as well as recon missions. Back at home, robots are used by police officers in hostage situations and by firefighters to enter burning buildings in search of victims. Now, as promised, the discussion about whether we will be better off with the rise of robots or not. And the answer is yes. With a changing economy to include robots, we can predict an increase in income inequality and the loss of many currently held positions. However, we are able to combat this by adapting both our skills and our mindsets to fit the new roles that will be produced by the rise of robots. In addition to the help that robots have played in keeping our society safe and constantly improving, a rise in the use of robots will also bring many more positions that do not currently exist, such as a need for people to produce and program these robots, as well as people to supervise and manage a warehouse full of them. Going forward, in order to adjust and adapt to the changing economy that includes robots, it is important that we start from the beginning, meaning that the next generation needs to be raised in a society that promotes creativity and critical thinking, rather than simply following formulas. In order to ensure job security, it is important that the following generations possess something that a robot can't, something of a human touch.